New court filings tonight in the paternity and child support lawsuit filed against former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, in Arkansas. In an affidavit, Biden claims he's unemployed, in debt, and unable to give the court a full accounting of his finances right now. And he's asking the court to seal the proceedings so no one else can get a look at the financial documents when he does file them. Let's turn to the host of Left Coast News, Ethan Behrman, and former Deputy Assistant to President George W. Bush, Brad Blakeman, to discuss. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you both with us.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, I want to read from this first little bit. This is from Hunter Biden's sworn statement to the court. He says, in an effort to demonstrate to this court my good faith, I attest that I am unemployed and have had no monthly income since May 2019. I currently have significant debts and I cannot complete an affidavit of financial means at this time. Brad, we're just getting an interesting window into this. I mean, if his last name was Biden, wasn't Biden, I don't know that we would care this much. But, for a lot of people, it's confusing to think of the money he's alleged to have made in some of these deals overseas, that he's in such dire straits, at least according to what he's telling the court.
Well, what we have here is a prodigal son. Joe Biden tried to help his son as vice president. He lost his moral compass in doing it and helped a son that had no moral compass. And this is just more of the same trouble for Hunter Biden. He got kicked out of the Navy for cocaine. Now he's fathered a child out of wedlock and refuses, apparently as alleged, to support the child, and then refuses to turn over the finances. But the court is dogged. And I read the court papers, and the court isn't taking his representations on its face. He'll have to produce his financial records. And whether or not they're sealed or not, I think that's up to the court.
Yeah, well, the judge has said in this case he's going to need to see at least 3 years of tax returns. I mean, Ethan, if it goes to that time period, that's going to be one that's very relevant to a lot of people who want to know about Burisma and China and other payments he may have been making. But he says, again, arguing that if this information goes public, people who used it for political means and others, what are the odds you think that the court gives him a break?
Oh, I don't think the court's going to give him a break. I mean, actually, Hunter's in really big trouble here. His representation quit in the middle of the hearing today.
That not often happen.
And not only that, the judge allowed it to happen, which really shows poorly for Hunter Biden. And look, he's right. People are going to use this for political means. It's normally the sins of the father that reflects poorly on the son. Here, it's the sins of the son that are somehow reflecting back on Joe Biden, which I don't think they should. Because actually, Brad pointed out something that I think that's really important. I have an insight and a source who knows Hunter Biden from long ago. This has been a long-going track record, according to the source of mine, that Hunter has had some of these behavioral issues dating way back. So this is not specific to Joe Biden. And for it to be used against Joe Biden, I find to be really problematic. Joe didn't specifically go out of his way. There's no evidence whatsoever to show that Joe did something to help Hunter in all of this. And Hunter gave up those jobs. That's why he doesn't have the money. I hate to see this happen to anybody, really.
We'll watch the case and see what the judge decides on all these counts, whether he's going to, lock this down or seal so we don't see the information, and whether the tax returns are in. We'll see. We know people like to fight over tax returns and access to them. Okay, so let's talk about the former vice president, though, this weekend. He's getting attention for not the best reasons this weekend. We have this little clip that shows his wife is trying to talk and say something, and he gives her a little nibble on there. We can play that. And there's also a very interesting story that he was telling, another piece of tape that has surfaced about working at a pool and getting out and the blonde hair on his legs and kids, wanting to touch the hair and all kinds of interesting things. So, with that in mind, it's been an interesting weekend for him, Brad.
There's no doubt. He's not only Sleepy Joe, but I think the president's going to come out with now Creepy Joe. I hope his wife is up to date on her tetanus shots. But look, Joe isn't catching on, especially in Iowa. Walmart had bigger, more enthusiastic crowds for their Black Friday sale than Joe's able to do in Waterloo, Iowa, or anywhere else. And I think Democrats are stuck with this national frontrunner who's not doing well in the internal state polls in the first battleground states of places like Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada. The only place he seems to be doing okay is in South Carolina, and that may change depending on the outcome of the first races.
Yeah, that's been a strong place for him. I want to read something from Charlie Kirk, obviously a conservative activist, who tweets this. He says, Joe Biden can't even get 200 people to show up at his rallies, is on tape bragging about children rubbing his legs, awkwardly bites his wife's finger at his Iowa relaunch, and Democrats think Donald Trump needs Ukraine's help to beat him in 2020? Ethan, final word to you.
Yeah, playfully nibbling on his wife's finger is something that Joe does to express his love for his wife and connection with other people. This is a thing that the Biden family does is they're physical with one another. And by the way, the physicality is not 40-plus accusations of sexual assault like the sitting president has. I'll take him nibbling on his wife's finger over that. And Charlie misrepresenting what those kids said about the leg, or what Joe said about the kids said about his leg anyway.
It's an interesting video. I suggested people watch it. When I first saw it, and with some family members and relatives over the holiday, some of them thought it was sort of a lip sync situation. It's a little confusing, but a lot of people will say that's Joe being Joe. All right, Ethan and Brad, great to have you with us. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving.
You too.